Sora has been unleashed on the world, and it's scary. It's a little intimidating. It is video AI through ChatGPT. So you type in sentences, it makes actual video
Video.
footage that looks photorealistic. It's nuts.
So insanely genius, dangerous, awesome, and terrifying, right? Everything.
It's all of it.
It's so regulated. Like, you remember, like what I instantly thought of when I saw the video. You sent me a link that had like a collage of videos that were AI generated, and immediately what I thought of is, oh my goodness, somebody's going to generate an AI video of their boss doing something illegal, right? And blackmail, like, oh, it's like celebrity, you know, everybody's after that celebrity shot at, so scandalous, you know, whatever. And like, I'm like, oh my God, nobody's safe now. You know,
It's so scary. I mean, and also it's an election year, and it's the most like heated election of our time, you know, of our generation. Some people would say it's the most heated ever, but I don't know. There's some wild stuff back in the day. But anyway, it's crazy. It will be like, how do we discern what's reality, what's not? How does it, as a videographer, as a filmmaker guy over here that gets hired to make videos, how does it depreciate what I do? I have opinions on that, but I think that'd be digging in a little bit premature. I just, overall, guys, if you haven't seen the footage that we're talking about, it is better than you think. I can almost guarantee you that it is better looking than you think. Like that uncanny valley of the CGI thing where it like kind of looks like a person, but it doesn't look like a person. I'm not saying it's perfect yet, but you really have to pay attention to notice that it's not real. And even then, there's many moments where you just can't really see the difference. It's almost like the canter of how they move the way they move their hands or fingers, the certain physical movement that they might be doing is just like, well, you wouldn't really do that right there. It has some weird oddities, but this is the launch. It's not even out to the public yet. It's just being put out to people that are their testers and people that are just higher up the ladder that get to test this stuff out. But it's making enough of a wave that it's not like it's behind hidden doors anymore. People are testing it, and they're showing videos of what people they put it in the hands of are coming up with.
So the video compared it to an AI video that was generated of what was it? It's like
Will Smith.
Will Smith eating cereal or something.
Spaghetti.
Eating spaghetti. Yeah. So, and how long ago was that? It's like, that's 1 year?
Yeah. Just a year ago.
1 year ago, and that video is like clunky. It looks like a PlayStation 1 video game, you know, where this new a year later, this new program looks legitimate. It's scarily like you would maybe you wouldn't know that it wasn't a real person, but it looks like something that someone spent hundreds of hours on in an edit on a film, you know, on a CGI sequence at the very minimum. That's what it looks like, if not looking exactly like a real person, until there's a movement quirk. Like you said, there's an artifact where you can still tell it's AI, but it's the way they have to program that is to protect people, right? Like without like a license or authorization, you shouldn't be able to say, okay, I'm making one. I want to make one of Ash picking his nose in front of the Pope, you know, and haha, you know, without your consent, using your image, you know, like it's got to, the regulations have to go in for a system like that.
I think that's one of the dividing lines will probably be, you know, that you can't type in somebody. I mean, because it's so good now, and they're going so widely public with it. This isn't just some like off the beaten path software company. This is like the biggest software company in the world at this point. And so with it being under the radar of scrutiny and it being the leader in AI and its attempt to dominate AI across the world by claiming chips, we'll get into that later. I think there's probably going to be stipulations that they put into place where you can't do the likeness of a specific person. Like it'll probably, just like whenever we were doing image generation, it just puts the brakes on something that's too violent or copyright issue. You can't say make Wolverine, for instance. You know, it can't do that. So I think it'll probably do that with the likeness of people. And that right there will be a little bit of a dividing line. I think this repeatability thing is going to be a huge hiccup that will take a while for them to get down, because they still haven't seemed to have gotten the repeatability. If you wanted to make a character and then have that character have episodes, for instance, like it can't repeat the same, and you need different angles of this and that. Like it can't do that. However, one thing that it can do that's pretty interesting is when you type out for a scene for it to do, it can literally generate multiple camera views simultaneously. So if it had a person walking through a park and an orchard, a park and an orchard pizzeria, and inside that orchard pizzeria, you wanted to have an angle from the counter, an angle from behind their head, an angle from, keep naming it. It can, I don't know what the limit is, but it literally, when it creates that scene, can create all of those angles simultaneously.
And in the same scene, like it's not, and it doesn't, right now it won't hiccup on elements of the scene that I've seen. The scene, it still maintains integrity throughout, like the AI set. So nothing,
I think so. I think it's like it has the whole scene, like the whole place. Imagine that you had a 3D model of a room or a building or whatever. And I guess it's generating that entire thing. So hence it can just pick out all those views that you requested. I don't know that it can supply each of those as separate, 1080p video windows that you could then put into an edit and then put something together. I don't know. I don't think it's there yet. But obviously this is the tip of the, iceberg of where it's going to end up. And it's the thing is that how good it looks. I mean, some of the shots straight up look like it was like it was shot on a Red camera, and it's like not necessarily the aesthetic that I would go for. But imagine if I tried to type in the aesthetic that I wanted it to be, that was more like what I would. I mean, like the quality level, as somebody that's familiar with cameras, it's there. It doesn't just look like. I mean, it can look that good. That's scary. Yeah. I mean, it's like. And it's a fake person that looks like a model, that you'd find in a superhero movie or something. I mean, it's like, I can't even, what's really going to be, the elephant in the room here that nobody talks about is is porn. I mean, the doors that this will open for people fulfilling fantasies is crazy. And the thing about porn is that is the majority, like that's one of the biggest money-making things on the internet, period. Like there's a percentage, and I'm going to misquote it, but I want to say it's like 40% or something of commerce that happens online has to do with porn.
Oh my God.
It's like an insane amount. I might be off by 10% or something, but it's somewhere in that.
I didn't know people still paid for porn these days. I thought it was all free on the internet.
Well, I don't know. I don't know what it's like.
I'm concerned, if you're paying for porn these days, you're a sucker.
Well, even things like, again, this is kind of foreign to me because I've never used it, but something like OnlyFans, right, where you're following a specific person and you're paying them. So this is still commerce of, but imagine having a program that literally can create the fantasy, and it's all photorealistic. I mean, what will it do? And it can do whatever you want to do. This is going to change a lot of industries. There's my job, which is like, video.
Commercials, video. I mean, if I want to make an advertisement for, Dick's new water brand, Dick's new water brand, and I want to have cascading shots of spring mountain water rushing down the side of a frozen mountain in the snow with polar bears lapping up my delicious water, and then me bottling it personally on the side of the river.
That's the part that you may not be able to do. Everything else until you brought yourself into it. Yeah. And that's where I come in.
Yes, but stock footage, right? Like this is
Right.
like what I saw from the video was like this is going to take stock footage, which I think everybody you know more than me. I think everybody who does any
I
sort
have
of
stock. I have 2 different
yeah,
accounts for licensing stock footage that I pay for every year. I spend $1,000 a year on having access to some stock footage.
and you use it, you utilize it all.
Yeah.
You use a little bit of it in Cue the Muses, not a lot.
The tiniest bit. The thing is, I use so little, but the reality is that just to physically go out and get one of the types of shots, if I have to put one shot that's 5 seconds in a video, and it's like a whole setup with some corporate thing inside of some big office or whatever, to go do that is I've already made my money back just paying for because what I would charge to set up the lighting and go get the actor and the time I would lose
Yeah,
to go out for this
yeah.
one shot. Right.
One time and it's paid for itself if you have it, right?
Pretty much. That's
Yeah.
why I have it. I use it very little, but there's maybe like out of all the stuff I do over the year, maybe 1% is stock footage in my entire, everything I create over the year. And just that 1% is worth the $1,000 a year.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but this might alleviate that. I mean, I might be switching what I'm paying for because I can make it exactly what I want.
Yeah, and you pay that much per year to have access to a library.
Right.
So I'm putting myself in your shoes now. Okay, I'm Ash. I need a scene of a woman shopping in a grocery store. A grocery store scene where there's people shopping in there, and I don't want to go film in a grocery store. So now I have to pull up a library and I have to search through different things in a library and find something that's already made that kind of sort of fits the best it can to what I'm seeing in my mind is what I want to see. Where this will be tailored specifically to exactly what you want, as if you were doing it, but you're playing it in a video game doing it.
Yeah, it's so much better because great example, store, right? Okay, I need that store to look local to where everything else was shot. Okay.
Yeah.
The chances of finding that stock footage is slim. Then if I am lucky, it most likely is going to be like, oh, that looks like a big city, or it looks like, you name it, and it just doesn't match, or the people are in it are, not the demographic that match up with, where I'm filming.
It's like climate, right? I'm in Boston right now, and the high during the day is like 31 degrees, and there's snow on the roads still, and everybody in the grocery store is all bundled up in jackets. So say you're shooting something in Florida, and then all of a sudden you have stock footage of a grocery store, and everybody's wearing giant jackets and hoodies. That's not going to work.
Yeah, that doesn't work either. And then also, just the everyone has access to that small library of footage versus the AI. If I created something, nobody else on the planet has that piece of footage. Yeah, because I just made it. So that's very different.
Yeah,
very different.
It's only a tool still. It's not generating anything on its own. It's generating things based on a prompt given by a human interpreter, by a human human operator. Sorry.
That's right.
You are now entering the Cue the Muses podcast. Please reserve submission of any joy meter statistics until after the program.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you don't know, Cue the Muses is actually a scripted sci-fi comedy web series that unveils a rock album that me and Dick have put together with the help of some amazing, talented musicians, different singers on every song. Every episode features a new unveiling of a song with a different singer on it that will rock your face off and melt the world. And in the show, we battle an AI that has released a song on the world that has stolen creativity from humanity. We team up with Muses to make the art that will defeat the evil AI. So hence, guys, we talk about AI a little bit on some of these episodes when there's big announcements like this Sora thing. This is not the only thing we're going to talk about today, but that was definitely, it's it's everywhere. People are talking about it. If you haven't seen it, you
It's
might want
coming.
to check it out. It's
Yeah.
coming.
It's already
And
here.
It's
It's
here.
happening.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
It's crazy how, not everybody knows about it. Not everybody pays attention, right? Everybody lives in their own world. So we only see what we're either looking for in the world or what we're exposed to by people who are in our world. Admittedly, you are into this far more than I am because I don't actively seek it. I actively use ChatGPT now, and it's more and more I'm diving into that world, and it's because you opened it up to me. But there's still plenty of people who don't understand just how much AI use is happening. I see it everywhere now. Now that I've started using it, now I've used AI now for about 3 months. I got it on Christmas Day, gift to myself, use it for all sorts of stuff. And I see it everywhere. And I can tell. Like I got to the point I can tell. I saw a band today that had a couple of live performance shots. It was a sponsored ad on social media, and they had 2 different logos of their band with their band name on there, and not the same. They can't right now. AI cannot. You can't plug in your band and your band's signature trademark font or whatever have you, and then repeat that. It won't do it. It'll write the same words that you want, but it won't do a stylized, copied format each time within. Not yet, but it's coming.
It's inevitable that they'll conquer that aspect of it, right? But right now, that's one of the limitations of it. And it is everywhere. I was having a not a debate per se, but I was talking to another friend. I watched the UFC fights over the weekend with a couple buddies, and one of them's pretty anti-AI, which is fine. I get it. And he's like, "Why the hell are we even pursuing it? We should just stop." And I said, "I mean, I get what you're saying, but it's also like there is no stopping it. You get that, right? Like you can't really put the genie back in the bottle. It's like, why would we create something that's going to destroy us?" And then I was like, well, I mean, I get what you're saying, but the ball is moving forward. People are creating it. There's no putting the genie back in the bottle, and it's not definitely going to destroy us. It's also got strong, amazing potential too. And it's but we won't know what reality is. I know, I agree with every potential thing that you're saying, but this also might be the thing that finds the cure for cancer.
Yeah.
This also might be the thing that ends blindness.
Yeah.
Because it can do. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just saying science fiction becomes science reality. That is a proven track record. That science fiction things, 100 years ago, people were writing things in books, making them up based on whatever it was based on, imagination, actual science, whatever. But it inspires people of future generations to continue to work towards a goal to make it a reality. Even down to display. I saw a display in the airport the other day that said no firearms, and it was a fan. Have you seen those? Like, these are like little gimmicks. It's a fan. It's a fan blade that spins.
Okay.
But on each fan blade, there's LED lights that light up, and as the fan blade spins, it makes a pattern that appears to be 3-dimensional and rotating.
Okay.
And it's because the fan blades are spinning and they have lights that display, but those lights shine, and the fact that it spins. Have you never seen one of those? Or like it looks like a 3-dimensional hologram is what it looks like.
Okay, I'm with you. I'm picturing it. I don't think I've seen one in
They had them in the Atlanta airport. I think they were just no firearms allowed kind of thing, but they spun, and it reminded me of like technology you see like in an 80s science fiction movie.
Yeah.
Like floating hologram displays that don't work quite right.
Well, I think of it like when a world record isn't beaten for 30 freaking years, right, or something, like some physical thing in the Olympics, and then somebody breaks that, and then before you know it, within a year or two, that record's broken, right?
Yep.
And it's like once you've seen that something can be done, it becomes in the realm of reality, and now it's accessible, and people will be able to do it, right? And so when movies come out, these artists come out with these amazing science fiction ideas, it literally inspires those scientists to think of like, well, how could I do that? And an example of that would literally be Elon Musk. You know, I
Mhm.
mean, the guy named, you know, he's totally inspired by sci-fi movies. I mean, most things that we've seen in sci-fi movies out of the 80s exist now. That's
Yep.
not really like, I don't think that that's because the science fiction people, the movie makers were that much of fortune tellers. I think that they kind of instigated the concept in a young generation of people that would later become scientists and steered them in a direction of like, I want to make that. Why wouldn't we make that?
Yeah. That works. Let's do that. You know,
Yeah.
let's figure out how to make
That
that work.
seems
And
useful. I'd
yeah,
like to have that.
there's, displays, like floating displays that you hit, like on Star Trek or whatever, and there's a map, and they're churning the three-dimensional map, and they're grabbing things on it, and doing it. Blow your nose off camera. But it's like those things they're pushing and becoming closer to a reality. It's happening. I mean, it's
Yeah. And it's fun and it's neat. And, I mean, I've mentioned a couple of health things, but what if we solved the energy thing? What if energy was abundant and free, and we had because an AI could do 10,000 years of formulations to figure out mathematically what would actually give us this end result. And then we have free energy. I mean, this is the kind of technology that we're heading towards, where we'll be able to potentially figure out how to conquer these things that otherwise would literally take possibly centuries of thought. And right
yeah,
now we're thinking of it that it's just regurgitated, material of what exists and is available now for the knowledge database. But surely what this is heading towards is AGI, all general intelligence. This is where it starts to truly create its own thought, which is scary and crazy, but it is also where it could create formulations that, literally we just don't, all the manpower and funding behind it, it would take decades to a century. We could get it done in a couple of weeks of computational power and have tested out so many things that people didn't have to die for. Like, I mean, just the experimentations alone of what it would take to knock out, like through its formulations, it could tell you this won't work, this won't work, this won't work, this won't work, versus us actually testing that shit on animals and then humans and then figuring out that it didn't work. Now, I know it's not there yet, guys, and I'm not putting all my faith in it, and it's going to have incorrect stuff. I get it, but humans do too. And it's interesting that this is even on the table, that we're actually within our lifetime, Dick, we might be able to see the fruition of what this could be. Or, the whole world could actually implode on itself because we can't tell what reality is and we all kill each other.
Let's hope not for that one.
Yeah. I'm rooting for the other.
I'm hoping that, it's right now, the only people that are developing this are the people smart enough to understand that it's not, it's that it can be dangerous, and they're putting fail-safes in. But then people hack programs all the time, and they change programs. When I was a kid growing up playing video games, right? This was my favorite part about video games as a child, and it is not a part of video games anymore. And it was the cheat codes, right? So growing up, you had a Sega Genesis game or a Super Nintendo game, and there would be a code that you could put in, like in the opening,
ABAACCBBAA,
whatever it was,
Mortal Kombat,
up, down, left, right, A start. Yeah, like Mortal Kombat's classic example. And it unlocked a code where all of a sudden now there's blood. Now you're not just beating each other up. Now there's blood.
What was that?
And
was that?
Yeah, and the fatalities are different. Nobody talks about how the fatalities are different, as they literally changed the fatalities too. And it's like, man, and there's all sorts of like the invincibility codes, extra lives, and infinite lives on Ninja Turtles or whatever, And they were hidden. There were secrets hidden in there, right? And the developers would hide these secrets in there. and then you had to know, you had word of mouth, or you had to buy a magazine that had the code to cheat code
The
magazine.
internet wasn't really that active yet.
Yeah,
That's how old we are.
Yeah, but then it was the internet wasn't there. And then there was also a thing called a game genie, and the game genie was a thing you plugged in to your system, and then you plugged the game into the game genie, and the game genie came with all sorts. It literally communicated with the software of the game and changed it in ways that weren't originally plugged into it. Did all sorts of crazy stuff to the games. And that's the same thing that's happening now with programs. Now people are still doing that, but they don't integrate cheat codes into video games anymore, right? Like anymore. Like now,
I guess not. Now you buy it.
Yeah, you buy the game, and then but
with
now
a fucking gun.
Now everything is consumer based. Not everything, but a lot of games are consumer based. Where you want to buy the Mortal Kombat game, guess what? You got to pay another $25 to get the extra 5 special characters, and another $10 to get the cool alternate suits or whatever. Yeah. And like when I was young, you had to play the game and unlock them as secrets. Like you made achievements in the game and you unlocked the prizes. Well, they found out you could just sell the prizes, and then it's not the same. No, it isn't the same use.
It's not the same, and I think this kind of even comes back to feeling like effort went into something to value it, and so this will kind of dilute like the video stuff and the image generation. It all just kind of dilutes the pool of like how much value we assign to something that we create. Like when that it's like having God mode on, it kind of ruins the game.
Yeah, no, the challenge is gone, and then it's lifeless, right? There's no reward, and there's no risk. There is no risk. There's no longer any risk, so therefore there's no reward. Without risk, there's no reward.
That is the way life works. Period. Yeah. When you get the thing that you've been pursuing, whether it's money or a car or whatever, when you finally get it, it's great to have it, but it's a short-lived sense of contentment. Yeah. And the journey along the way, if you didn't either enjoy yourself on the journey or face so many challenges that you gained a sense of growth and wisdom and maturity and life lessons, then you're missing the boat on what the whole experience is of life, because you're only going to enjoy maybe 5% of your life. The other 95% of it is pursuing the thing. It's the growth. It's the having a goal and going on the journey to get there, and viewing the world along the way through the lens of what helps get you there. It's a choose your own adventure. Mm-hmm. And when you have your sights on something, whatever that goal is, then that you will see the path to be able to get there with effort, but it is there. And that if you turn it into a fun adventure, then man, you're going to have the most fulfilling life.
Yeah. There's the people, mountain climbers train for the climb, right? They don't train for the picture at the top.
That's right.
And they don't climb the mountain. Yeah. They don't climb the mountain for the picture at the top. They climb the mountain to climb the mountain. They enjoy that. Huh?
Amen.
Yeah. It's like, and that's why I'm already over 3 months after making, the AI images, right? I made AI images. I was completely and hopelessly addicted to it for a week. Every day, like the first 2 days, I think it was over Christmas break where, I was off work, wasn't doing a whole lot. I think I spent hours each day. I had hours glued just, make this, do this, change this, like so fascinating, right? Like, and now here it is. I don't use it unless prompted by like another person. Yeah. Like every day, my drummer the other day said, "Oh man, generate an image of this." I was like, "That's a good idea." I forgot that I can do that because it's just not. Right. It's just not. It's like that magic it's still very magical and cool and useful and fun. It's just like, okay, it's like there's other things to do. I'm getting more out of drawing and illustrating by hand and pushing myself to be more creative in that way. And I started a series of I've been flying a lot, been traveling a lot by airplane. So I have a notebook that
you're in Boston right now, right?
Yeah, I'm in Boston.
You're in a hotel in Boston right now.
Yeah, I was in Cambridge yesterday, and I'm in what town? I think I'm in a town called Lexington right now. Lexington, Massachusetts, which is just Boston, just northwest Boston. But I've been doing illustrations on plane flights where you board the plane and then you get seated in, you put your seatbelt on, and then you wait, you taxi, and you take off. And it's like, that's when everybody on the plane's there's always like a nervous, anxious energy in the plane, you know, because everybody's like, some people are scared to fly. I've been flying since I was a little kid. It doesn't bother me. But like instead of just like being there with everyone and not really doing anything, I've started drawing and forcing myself to finish the drawing. By the time like I have to start drawing, as soon as I sit down, get buckled in, and we're taxiing, and when the plane starts moving, I start drawing. And I don't ever have a real idea of what it's going to be, but I always make sure that it's something and that it's finished by the time the plane is in the air and, you know, and going. And it's been kind of like this weird sensation of accomplishment that I didn't expect to have. So I think I showed you, this was one I did the other week.
Oh yeah,
So
that's cool, man.
Like, yeah, it's I called it Cronenberg's guitar.
Nice.
You know,
now, what did you? That's pencil, but do you have some art pencils? That looks like you got different thicknesses going on there.
Nope. My magic trick is nothing but a Bic mechanical pencil.
Dude,
but they have these erasers that will hold lead. So my trick is I make a really dark spot like this right here. I just scratch, and then I lightly erase with this, and it just coats the eraser with so much lead. Then I can smear it and cloud it like it was a charcoal pencil, and that's my trick. That's my trick. Cool. And so then the other day, like when I flew out yesterday, this was the one that I made.
Oh man!
So
I like these. These are great.
Yeah, this was the image of boarding the plane when the little place you walk into at the end. There's this radius wall that's like corrugated and it has these little thin windows. I started drawing that, and then I was like, I don't know what's going to happen. This kind of looks like a bone, and then it turned into another bone, and then that turned into some hair, and then it turned into a skull, woman's kind of feminine, you know, thing, and it just kind of turned out what it was. And then when the plane hits a certain smooth ride in the air, like that's it, you know, pencils down, it's done. And that's just, you know, just pushing myself like that, because, you know, somebody on the internet gave me shit. Like, oh, you're just using a bunch of AI stuff. It's so stupid. Well, you know, it's fun. It's silly, and it doesn't mean that it doesn't mean that, you know, I'm not creative. It doesn't mean that the person using it, because you have to be creative to make it do something.
Yes,
I've asked friends of mine, and not everybody's creative, and that's fine. You know, it's not everybody is totally creative especially on the spot, right?
Yeah.
Some people really get a little kind of anxious about that. I've asked people that I know who aren't particularly creative, like, hey, make something. Here's the AI, just do something. They're like, they kind of freeze up. I don't know what to do. I don't know. Like, and it's like, man, have Santa Claus on a surfboard, high-fiving a snowman, you know, in the desert. You know, so, like, you know, oh yeah, okay. But, you know, it still takes creativity to do it, because if you're using creativity, you're not making anything with it.
I mean, I feel like so much of creativity is actually just, I know people say that they're not necessarily creative, and I get that. Not everybody is like creative in the wheelhouse that's considered to be creativity, right? But they're creative in other ways. However, I do think one of the skill sets about trying to become creative or being more creative is what you're trying to do is actually see for a moment what your brain is already making all the time. Your brain's like a freight train of ideas flooding by, and we're on autopilot. And if you can actually just pay attention, and this is one of the benefits of meditation. This is what one of the big things that you do is you literally watch your thoughts go by. And this is where I first started to get the idea that I was like, oh, that's kind of what I'm doing when I'm trying to be creative, is I'm just actually grabbing one of those things that would normally just be a fleeting passing thought that didn't even manifest into a visual image. It's just like your brain is constantly thinking stuff. While I'm talking right now, there's a flood of things happening inside your brain, and anyone that's watching this, and all of us have different shit going on. And any one of those things, if you just like can pause and then grab it for a second and take a look at what the hell that is, man, that's a whole idea for an entire episode of a show, or that's a whole idea for turn that into an image, a drawing, or turn that into a skit, or turn that into, and it's just being able to like pause and absorb that. And so I don't know, I recommend for, a lot of people just like take a moment to actually just, if you can, it's a practice, it's not automatic, but like be still enough for 1 minute and just watch what's running by, even if it's just insecurities, frustration, feeling behind. I mean, turn that into a whole scene, and that scene is playing out in your head.
Yeah.
You're creating a whole movie that doesn't exist. You're creative.
And it's
all negative.
Yeah, your creativity is unique to your interpretation, right? And you're interpreting thousands of things. You're interpreting the way you see the world. You're interpreting the way your thoughts are in your head. I'm a very visual thinker. I've realized this specifically in the last couple of years, that I'm a very visual thinker, which is why I always struggled with math in school, because I can't visualize numbers. It's so complex. I have to simplify it in a way, and I'm not going to try to explain that here because I'm just going to fail. And
all you got to do it, visualize them dollar bills, y'all.
Yeah. Everybody has someone asked me, it might have been Amber who asked me, do you hear voices in your head? And I'm like, what do you mean? Of course I hear my inner voice, right?
Yeah.
Like there's the thought that you think in your own voice, you think in your own thoughts. And I was like, yeah, you do too. She said, yeah, I just want, and like, don't worry, that's normal. You hear it. If you hear a voice that speaks to you in words that you're not trying to hear and you can't get it to stop, there's another thing happening there. She doesn't have that. Schizophrenia involves multiple voices that never shut up. If I was to smoke weed, I get voices that'll play, which are thoughts that I have no more control over. The tape hits play and it starts playing a tape, and I can't hit stop, and I can't change the channel, and I can't control what channel it's on. That's called anxiety, right? That's anxiety. That's what, if I get smoke pot, I get anxiety, and that's what that is. But there are people who have that all the time, and they struggle with being creative, or they excel at being creative, because when they're being creative, that being stuck inside your own head kind of goes away. A lot of people, they say, I get too up in my head about it, too many thoughts, negative thoughts, whatever it might be. And like playing music, I don't know for you, when I play music, it's a muscle memory thing, because I've been playing music for so long. It's like my body's doing it, and there's not so much thought happening when I play. And that means, one, it's like meditation. Your mind can be empty, or you're free to think of when I play music, I end up thinking about things sometime, but it's never a specific thought out thing. Like, oh, I need to go take out the trash. It's always like I'm playing music, and then my mind all of a sudden is somewhere in that place of getting there. The span of getting there is unknown to me, right? Because it's like my mind is closed while I'm doing it, and then all of a sudden there's a thought, and I have no idea how I got there, because that span, that it's like a warp, like there were thoughts there for sure that led me there, but in the music, I was lost in it because the music took me somewhere else. And that's also a kind of like what meditation does. I feel like you step outside of it and you're like it's like a trance almost.
Yeah, they are similar. There's some different focus points, and it depends on so there's many types of meditation. There's many types of approaching music, right? With not just genre wise, but like, are you working on drills? Like, are you working on scales? Are you writing music? Are you doing ear training, or are you, composing something where, are you working on arpeggios, or are you jamming and practicing improv? Like, all those things kind of trigger, and the same goes for the meditation stuff. So depending on what you're looking at, but you're right, like there's a transportation. What happens is, in all these things, what we're kind of like, the best stuff happens when you enter what's like those flow states, right? Where you're kind of like in this natural mode. You're almost in autopilot, but there's some connection there where you're in synchronicity with it, writing it, collaborating with it. And that is kind of what stemmed the idea of the Muses, because that's really kind of like a description of a muse. It's like, at some point, it's almost like you're falling far enough back away from it. You're not thinking to think the thing, you're allowing the thing to become. And
you become the vessel. You become the vessel.
You become the vessel. And I would say that it's like, I know we made it like a tangible thing for the show because it's fun to turn it into like an actual person, basically, or like a specific spirit. But I think even more than that, the way I think it works, or the way it feels, is that it is like you are a vessel, but it's like the vessel in itself is the creation force. So it's like it's all kind of melts into this one experience of just absolutely being. And that's really, I think, the goal with anything where people lose themselves in some kind of passion, whatever it is. It could be working on cars, like they lose themselves in, putting the engine together, and then eventually hours have gone by and everything just kind of connected together and it felt right. It was almost meditative. And what happens in all those experiences is that you really are just, there's this level of being that we oftentimes don't experience in doing a lot of other activities. It's one thing to be on autopilot and get something done. It's another thing to be in autopilot, and because you're like in it, you're absolutely in that moment. And the more time that you can spend in the moment, I think the happier that we are ultimately, because that's truly the only reality that exists, is the very second that we're talking now. And everything that I said before this is gone. It's a memory. And everything that I'm about to say is the future, and it doesn't exist yet. And I don't know where it's going. And so it's literally this very moment with every word. And the more you can be sensitive and ride that, well, the funner the adventure gets, because then you're hyper aware. And this is one thing that does happen when meditation is something I do absolutely sober, right? I usually even do it before I've had coffee. Like, I don't even have coffee yet necessarily. But with psychedelics, it is a reality that it's like, you cannot it's gonna come at you, you can go with it or not. But it's one of the things that's attractive about the experience is that you are 100% aware of everything going on. The brain puts up borders because you can't compute everything at one time that's happening around you, or we'd go crazy. We wouldn't be able to focus and get anything done. So we actually have mechanisms in our brain that literally help us put blinders on and focus on one thing at a time. On a psychedelic journey, that is inhibited. And so literally every orifice of what's happening around you you are acknowledging, and it makes it almost impossible to accomplish any task. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and it's forced. It's like it's forcing everything that normally is in your blinders is like when you're on a psychedelic, it's forcing itself into your presence. Like there's a hum right now that I think the refrigerator in this hotel room is making. And you start talking about psychedelics, and I'm like, okay, well, what would I be hearing on psychedelics right now? Well, probably you'd be talking about about things, and I would be focused in on that humming on the refrigerator, and probably a lot of turning around and looking and seeing, and then hearing something else happening in there, and then hyper focusing on things too. And I had a conversation with a guy at lunch today, really, really smart human being. His name is Joe Bucci, like incredibly calculated and nerdy and just well-organized person whose mind is very, you can just tell. I've had a lot of meetings. He conducts a lot of meetings with a lot of people, a lot of moving parts for a weapons research and development company. And I sat down to lunch with him today, and we are total opposites, him and I. So, he's a person who sensory deprivation headphones, noise canceling headphones with white noise, so that he can focus on work and work and do things on the computer without any outside distractions. No sound, no TV at night or going to sleep or anything. And I'm like, I would go crazy. I thrive in loud environments. I'll be less productive in a room that's completely quiet where I can hear my own heartbeat, than if I'm doing work in a room with a lot of different people where it's not just one other person who's talking on the phone. That probably would bother me. But if I'm in a room with 20 different people talking on the phone and a lot of shuffling and just loud noise at a high level, that's comforting to me to isolate myself into my own thoughts, because it's strange. It's totally opposite, right? And that's just how I am.
Like the guy you described before. Like, I've never tried putting on the headphones for that. I'm actually curious to try that, although I got to edit sound a lot. But
yeah, you should, because I know you. We've shared hotel rooms before, and it's you sleep with nothing. And I have to have a television. Right. And I remember we stayed, I think our sons and us, we stayed at a hotel one time, fell asleep with the television on. And I think Tristan got up and turned the television off. And it woke me up when he got up, and he turned it off, and then it was quiet. And I said, fuck, I'm not going to be able to go back to sleep. And literally I was like, oh shit, now it's quiet. Now I'm like,
what I do need need white noise of some kind, like the AC going perfect, like just the hum, or a fan. If it's dead quiet, I can't sleep. That's for sure. Mm-hmm. But I just want like something kind of constant. We actually have one of those hatches, which is a sound machine. When you have a baby, it's nice to have some kind, but it's like that. And what that also does is that if like any sound happens in a completely dead room, it'll wake you up, and the TV going off will wake somebody up, because that now the soundscape's changed completely. I'll never forget one of the coolest musical lessons that I ever saw on video was Victor Wooten, bass player for Bella Fleck and the Flecktones, amazing bass player.
Oh yeah.
And he said one of the most powerful things that you could choose to do during a solo is to just stop playing. Everyone will hear that.
Yeah, the negative.
It's like, oh shit. And then boom, and then you go into it. I mean, you want to draw some attention. Just boom, like that'll do it. And it's so true, man. It's like silence is powerful.
Pause.
Boom. That's so good.
Calculon from Futurama.
Yeah, right. Futurama is so good. But yeah, no, well, that's fun that we talked about all that art stuff and creativity, and that it's funny how it kind of tied back to the Muses and AI. Yeah. Good job, Ash and Dick. Good job.
Yeah, it's good. It's good conversation. I'm still sore from you shot me. You shot me.
Shot?
I think it was your shot, because I remember how. So we thought we were going to murder our children, pretend murder our children with fake bullets
in paintball,
and not so much murdering them. Right? We did get them, we got them, but overall, I think the kids did better.
I never got to shoot Tristan, my son. He's 17
Don't
and
worry, I absolutely shot Tristan. Don't worry about
good, but I wanted to. He got me like 3 times.
Man, Kyron got me in the back. I didn't even know he was shooting me. I got pinned down one time and someone shot me from the front and someone shot me in the back, and it was my son. I was like, you dirty little. It was so fun though.
It was fun. I've never done paintball before, so that was like a bucket list thing to get to do with Tristan. He's always wanted to do it. I've always wanted to do it. So
yeah, well now we got to do it again, because we got to start making a thing out of it. I can totally get behind making a thing out of it.
Yeah. We should do this at least like quarterly, right? Like a few times a year.
Yeah.
Season.
3 or 4 times a year. We'll because you gotta be dressed out properly. Because I got a decent welt, and it was like it hit me in the. I was wearing two long sleeve shirts like this. It wasn't anything thick. Yeah, and I wasn't wearing a jacket, and when it hit me right in the floating rib section right there. There's not a lot of meat, and it was fine. I mean, it hurts, but it's not like you're not gonna be like, oh, I'm out, I'm not playing again today. Right. It's like, ow, you're a bastard. I'm gonna shoot you now. You know.
I was worried because the place I got hurt, hands down, the shot that hurt the most was when I got shot. And then I raised my hand up like I'm hit. And then Tristan shot my hand that I stuck up, and it hit me right in the palm of my left hand. And that hurt, man. I was like, I'm not going to be able to practice guitar for a couple of days, which luckily is not the case. But that's the first thing I thought was like, I'm going to have like a bruised palm. I'm not going to be able to fret the fretboard.
Crap. I can't play guitar for a month now.
Oh God, I think
it was either you or Tristan that got the worst shot on me, because I got hit on the elbow right here. That was the most painful one. The one in the ribs hurt a little bit, but that one just left the worst mark. Like that, the mark is still there. But the most painful one, man, it was a shot right on the corner of the bone on that elbow right there, like that bone. You see that guy that sticks out? Right? That bone. And it was like perfect. I think it was Tristan. And I think it was, he put another one of them things, but I got shot and I was like, okay. And then he shot 2 or 3 more times. I'm like,
right. I got hit. I was like, I'm hit. Baba, I'm hit.
He's having too much fun.
It hurts. It does hurt.
He's like, I'm not stopping until the ref steps in.
Yeah. It was fun. Well, before we close out the episode, I did want to mention I had a friend pass away. Amazing, awesome person. He was my roommate, Kyle Burke. He was my first roommate ever. I believe I was his first roommate too. Back when he was 18, I was 17, and he was only 42, and he passed away, and it sucks. And died of a heart attack. But his service is this weekend. If for any reason you don't know and you somehow have made it to the end of this episode, I meant to mention it way earlier, but it's going to be this Saturday, February 24th at Beavis Funeral Home, 200 John Knox Road, Tallahassee, Florida. And the viewing is at 1 p.m. and the service to follow is at 2 p.m. And then his graveside service will be at Cully's Meadowood Memorial Park. And that's 700 Timberlane Road. And that's directly after the service at Beavis. So I will definitely be attending that. And it was like I found out on Saturday, and then Sunday we were doing paintball because we had already had that scheduled and everything. But that's exactly the best thing to do. Go out there with a friend, one of my best friends. Get out there, go to battle with our kids, and do some bucket list things. So that was really great and healthy. I'm glad we got to do that together the next day. And it's been a little bit of a choppy week for me, thinking about all that stuff. But overall, things are good. And I'm looking forward to seeing a lot of old friends at his service this Saturday.
Yeah, I hate to hear it, man. And it's all you can do, right? One of my favorite songs has a line in it. One of my favorite songs is a City and Color song, and Dallas Green has a line that says, "A man's best party only happens when he dies." Right? Like, you're the best party that will ever be had for you. The most celebration, the most anyone will ever celebrate you. The best time is always the one that happens after you die. And it's
right.
it's dark, but it's true, and it's beautiful too, right?
Yeah.
Like, and that it means a lot when someone passes away, and there's enough people who cared, the people who cared about them, but it's a reflection of them, right?
Yeah.
You know, if they're that awesome to that many people, then they were very, very special. And that I have a lot of respect for those gatherings, those happenings, those things. That's one of the most important things to do. And it's, you know, anytime anyone that I know ever loses someone very close, like a close friend or a family member, it's, you know, whatever happens in the next several weeks, days, treat everything with as much care as you can, because it's so easy to get lost in things and miss things and acknowledge things. You know, I mean, I'm really sorry that you lost your buddy, man. I mean,
Thanks, man.
It's not fair, and it's too early, and I hate that. And, you know, you guys will get through it.
Yeah. I think you're right with the, you know, I think us and the friends that'll be there and stuff, the guy definitely had people that genuinely cared about him. He's one of those guys that just, like, if you knew him, you liked him, and he was always like good and honest and genuine. He's just like a genuinely good person. So everyone that was around him, like, he had good friends, you know, and I didn't get you know, my biggest regret is just how little I got to see him over the last, you know, set of years. But he was one of our biggest Kill Clouseau supporters, you know, back when we were playing. I mean, he made it to most shows, and it was like so fun to rekindle seeing him every time. And anyway, it really will be beautiful getting to see some people I haven't gotten to see for a long time. So we're going to make the best of it on Saturday, and it'll be good. So on that note, everything else though is fantastic and going great. Life is beautiful, and, you know, coming together with friends like this is just another example of how beautiful and precious life is. So that's where I'm going to leave it. And it's always great talking to you, my friend. I think it's cool as shit that you're out in Boston freezing your ass off. I was in a t-shirt and shorts earlier today. So
don't worry. I'm from the West anyway. So I was the guy that, you know, I'm the guy that was out in my t-shirt in the 30-degree weather today. Nice. Everybody's like, "What's wrong with you?" I'm like, "Well, are you kidding me? We're going from the car to the building." Right? Don't make a big deal about this. It feels great for 2-3 minutes at a time. It's wonderful. It's like cold shower.
That's right. That's right. I just returned to mine yesterday and then today because I was sick for a week, but I'm back on it again on the cold showers every day. So
nice.
All right, guys. Thank you for everybody. Much love, and we'll see you on the next Cue the Muses podcast when we reach number 30. This was 29, so next week will be 30.
Thank you for listening. Like and subscribe.